It's time for a monthly rendition of my favorite game of how many books did I actually read from my TBR last month and how many am I saying I'm gonna read this month, but I know I actually won't. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Zoe and I'm so happy that you clicked on today's video. So we are somehow already in October. That is kind of scary to me because the Burr months are already flying by and I want fall to last as long as it possibly can. And knowing that we are already in October, like gonna be partially through October by the time this goes up, genuinely freaks me out. I want it to last forever, but here we are. We're gonna make the most of it. It is officially fall. We are living for spooky season, living for those fall vibes. It's still 96 degrees outside, but I'm dressing for fall, acting like it's fall, and of course reading all of the spooky books. So I'm here today to talk to you guys about the books that I read last month and all the books that I want to read this month. Obviously spooky season edition. So without further ado, I just want to get right into my September wrap up. So I read 4 books last month. I feel like it was a slower reading month for me for sure, but I read some incredible books. I absolutely loved the 3 that I read at the end of the month. The first one, however, was a different situation. So the first book that I read last month was A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the 3rd book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, which I have wanted to read for years and I always wanted to really love. But unfortunately, it just did not work out that way for me. I enjoyed the first one, absolutely hated the second one, and then just did not really vibe with the 3rd one. Don't get me wrong, I really loved the story and the characters. I loved our characters and their relationships. It was just something about the writing, I think, that didn't work for me because like the idea for these books was so cool. Like parallel versions of London, magicians who work together traveling between the different Londons trying to save the world. Like, yes please, but something about the writing just didn't work for me. It absolutely bored me to tears. And because of that, I can only give this book a 2-star rating, maybe 2.5, but only because I really loved the characters. But yeah, the book unfortunately just didn't work for me. But then after that one, I got to a really good streak of books, starting with one that I am literally never gonna shut up about. I read 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and it took over my entire life. I'm so completely obsessed with this book. I loved the story, the world, the characters, like following the 6 characters around, going on this heist with them. It was just the most fun ever, and I grew so emotionally attached to every single one of them. I just loved this book so much more than I ever thought I would. It is hands down an all-time favorite of mine, more than 5 stars if I could, which is so cool to say because I feel like fantasy is very hit or miss for me, but it's not often that I adore a fantasy book, but this one was so good. It was super easy to understand. It didn't even really feel like I was reading. It was one of those stories where you really get lost in it and forget that it's a book. It was just amazing. It was amazing. And then of course, because of that, I had to move on to Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, which once again was a million stars. So freaking good. This story was amazing. I had to read it immediately because 6 of Crows left off on a cliffhanger and I was so concerned for our characters, so I had to continue. And this one once again blew my mind. This one was so crazy because things just kept happening. You would turn the page and something new would happen and then another issue would come up. And it was like so much was going on at once that like I got overwhelmed in a way, but like in a good way because it kept it just like, it kept the story moving along. It made it so exciting and so gripping. And I truly never wanted it to end. This one, 6 of Crows, made me feel all the emotions, but this one made me feel all the emotions times 1,000. Like my heart was absolutely shattered in this book. I am still not okay. I finished this like 2 weeks ago and I'm still recovering. Don't know if I ever will be fully recovered, but yeah, these books are absolute all-time favorites of mine. I feel like I am sad that I waited so long to read them, but I'm happy that I finally did get around to it. If you haven't read these books and you've thought about it, or even if you haven't thought about it, this is your sign. Go get them, pick them up, read them. It is so worth it, and it is such a perfect time to read them. They are so perfect for spooky season, for fall. They literally are my new personality. Like 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, I have made it my entire personality, and I'm not sorry about it. Like it's gonna be that way for a while. I just adore them. So please go read them if you haven't. And if you do, feel free to DM me and tell me every single thought and feeling you have, or if you've read them and you want to talk about it. I'm waiting. Like, come talk to me. I'd love to hear every thought you have. And then the last book that I read in September was actually one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. So my friend Allie, I will link all of her social media down below. She does YouTube, she does Bookstagram, and now she is an author. My friend Allie wrote a book. She wrote an entire book, which is so freaking cool, like, that she did that. And not only was it a book, but it is an incredible book. Like, she is so freaking gifted. She's so talented, and she wrote this amazing book. I'm not gonna say too much about it because it is still very new. I just feel really honored that she sent it to me and had me read it. This book once again made me feel every single emotion imaginable. It was so good. It was exactly the type of book that I love, that I adore. It's new adult, past and present timelines, romance, it's closed door family dynamics, and it has the best mental health rep. I was in tears over some of the stuff that she wrote, not only because it was beautiful, but just the way that she made me feel really seen, and the way that she wrote about some topics in this book. It was so incredible. I truly bawled my eyes out. I have some pictures, I'm not gonna include them because they're not cute, but she just is so talented, and I cannot wait for this book to get published and absolutely take off. So make sure you guys go follow her so that you can follow her updates and see what happens with this book, see where it goes. But I am just endlessly proud of her and so excited to see where she goes and see what happens for her. And Allie, if you're watching, I love you so much, and thank you so much for letting me read your book. It was a million stars. So those were all the books that I read in September. As I said, a really good reading month. We're just gonna ignore the first one that I read in the month because the other three are all-time favorites for me, and I will genuinely never stop thinking about them. So moving on, we have my October TBR. This is a very ambitious list. It's 10 books with where I'm at in my life right now. 10 books is kind of a lot, but you know me, I love to just pick a huge list of books and say that I'm gonna read them all and then see if I actually get to any of them. So we're gonna go through these 10 titles. I picked very good books for spooky season, and I'm really excited about all of them. So we're gonna start with a couple books that I'm actually in the middle of. These were on my September TBR. I started them in September and then I never got to finish them, so I want to finish them in October, obviously. So the first one is Psyche and Eros by Luna McNamara. This is a Greek mythology retelling about Psyche and Eros, I guess. I don't really know my Greek mythology, but it's really cute so far. I think the cover is really pretty. It's like romance, and I'm enjoying it so far. I wouldn't say it's like super amazing right now. I haven't picked it up in like 3 weeks, but I am excited to get further into it because I'm only a third of the way through, so like a lot could still happen, and I'm excited to see what does happen because I'm excited. I think I'm gonna like it. I just need to give it a little bit more of a chance. And then we have a book that I have been reading for far too long. We have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This I started last month, and I really did want to finish it last month. But what happened, I got 2/3 of the way through, and well, I got about halfway through. I've read a little bit more in the past couple days, but I got about halfway through, put the book down, and then I read Six of Crows. And after Six of Crows, I was like in a book hangover, and then after Allie's book, I was in like a double book hangover, and nothing was as good as those books. And then at that point, it had also been so long since I'd picked this up that I like kind of just lost all interest. So here we are now. I'm trying to finish it. I think this is going to be my last ACOTAR book for right now. I don't think I'm going to continue the series right away because this is just not, it's not working for me right now. I don't know if it ever will work for me, but it's not working for me right now. So I'm going to finish it and then move on. But I am really excited to get through the last 200 pages and say that I finished it because I'm ready to move on and read some other books. Then we have another book that was on my TBR last month, but I did not start. We have The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one I think is going to be absolutely perfect for October because I love just like the mystery, like riddle aspects of these books. I think it'll be a lot of fun for this month. Like, it's like Knives Out, you know, and Knives Out is so fun for October. So I'm really looking forward to it. I want to read this book before the hype dies down, before it's like not relevant anymore. So I feel like this is a really good time because it is still new, but it's not gonna stay new for too long. I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'll like it. I've heard very mixed reviews about it, but I'm so here to just hang out with the brothers because I love them so much. So I've heard there's not a lot of plot, but I honestly don't think that will bother me too much. So I'm really looking forward to reading it. And then I have a couple romances. The first one being another one that was on my TBR last month. We have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This one I've heard nothing but good things about, and I just think it's going to be really good for October because I loved The Dead Romantics, and I think I read that in October last year, so like it just feels right to read her books right now. And obviously the cover is like so perfect for fall, but I've just heard so many people say so many good things about it that I have like FOMO, and I just really need to get to this book. I've also been really craving some romance lately, so I think this is going to do the trick, and I'm so excited for it. And then one other romance, I have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This one I'm hoping to read either on Halloween or right around Halloween because I read The X-Hex last year on Halloween, and it was just so much fun because not only are the books about witches, but it also has like all of the Halloween aspects in it, all the Halloween activities. So I think it's gonna be really, really fun. I'm hoping this one is just like the X-Hex and has like the same sorts of things in it, and I'm sure it will. So I've also heard this one's better than the X-Hex, so that's promising, and I just think it's going to be perfect to end my October with. And then every year I try to read a Stephen King book during October, at least one, and this year I have chosen Salem's Lot. This is not only a book that I've wanted to read for a long time, but it's also just like the most intriguing one to me that's on my shelf of his right now that I haven't read yet. So I'm hoping to read this one. I don't know much about it, but I do know that it involves vampires, which, hello, perfect for October. So I am looking forward to it. I think I'm really gonna like it because this is like the era of his books that I've liked the most so far, and I've also heard just really great things about it, so I'm really excited to read it. It is a bit long. Some of the books on my TBR this month are fairly long, so I definitely need to pace myself if I actually want to get around to it, but I definitely think it's doable and I'm excited for it. Then we have a book by one of my favorite authors. We have The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I said in my last video, I did a spooky season TBR video, I talked about how much I love Grady Hendrix, and this is one of his books that I've wanted to read forever, but I have not gotten around to yet. I actually said I would read this the past 2 Octobers and never did, so this year we are changing that. I'm actually gonna read it, and I'm so excited. I've heard such good things about this book, and as I said in my video last time, what I love about Grady Hendrix is he has these amazing horror books, but he also does a really good job of like mixing humor into them, which I think makes them so much fun, and it still keeps it a little bit lighthearted. So like when it starts to get really scary, you also laugh. So I just love him a lot, and I'm really thinking I'm going to adore this book, so I'm really excited for it. And then of course I have to have a mystery thriller, so I chose The Maidens. I'm not gonna pronounce this author's last name because I'm pretty sure I botched it in the last video, but this is the author of The Silent Patient, and I don't know much about this one other than that there is a character in it named Zoe, so I love that. And it's about like a Greek mythology professor, something to do with Greek, and a professor at a college, and it's a murder mystery type thing. I don't know. Clearly I know nothing about it, but I do know that I really love The Silent Patient, and I'm hoping that I also enjoy this one. It's super short. I read The Silent Patient in one sitting, so I feel like this one will be the same way. I can read it really quickly and just have like a little bit of a spooky atmosphere going on, a spooky experience. I'm really looking forward to it because I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then I want to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This one I've wanted to read for a long time, but I also never want to read. It's a very like mixed feeling because The Hunger Games is one of my favorite series ever. Catching Fire is in my top 3 books of all time. So obviously I love The Hunger Games, and I fear this one messing up how I feel about it because I've heard really mixed reviews about this book, and like The Hunger Games was perfect how it was, so like why add to it? But at the same time, I'm like so excited to get more of The Hunger Games and more to the story, so like it goes both ways. But I do know that I need to read this before the movie comes out next month. I don't know much about it. I know it's like President Snow's villain origin story basically. It's like him as a young guy, like kind of learning more about him, which I think sounds interesting, but I've avoided all spoilers and the movie trailer as much as possible, so I really don't know much more than that, and I'm just really hoping that I fall on the side of people who enjoy this book, and that it does not ruin everything and crush my dreams. So time to bite the bullet, time to do the dang thing, stop saying I'm gonna read it and actually get around to it. So it'll definitely happen in October, maybe early November, but I'm hoping for October. I'm so scared. I'm scared, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna read it. Okay, we're moving on. And the final book on my TBR for October, again, I might read all of these, I might read none of these, we'll see, but I wanted to include a YA mystery thriller, so I did You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. This is the author of One of Us is Lying, among other books, but that's just like her most known one, I think. But I have read all of her books except for her brand new one that just came out this summer. And I really love her books. I feel like they're nothing like life-changing or like super memorable, but they're just like a really fun time and they're really quick reads. So I think this one's gonna be really good for spooky season. It's also good because I've been in very much like a YA mood lately, and this is obviously YA. It takes place at a high school, so I think I'll have a good time with it. I think it'll just be a really fun one to sit down and fly through and just like have a spooky fun time. So I am hoping to read this one. I've had this one for far too long and it's time that I finally read it, and I'll let you guys know what I think if I actually do get around to it. We'll see what happens. So those were the books that I read in September and the books that I say I want to read in October, but who actually knows. September, once again, was such an amazing reading month. Like, even though that is the least amount of books I think I've read all year, I think it might be my favorite reading month, or one of them at least, because the quality of the books that I read were so amazing. Like, obviously quality over quantity, and that proves it, because those were fantastic books. And I'm just really looking forward to reading some fun spooky books in October. So if you saw any favorites here or read any really good books last month, I would love to hear about it, because I'm always looking for good new book recommendations, and also I just like love hearing about people's favorites. I'm really nosy that way. But yeah, if you liked this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me so much. And if you want to be friends, all of my socials will be linked down below as always. I'd love to chat with you guys. I just love making friends, okay? I love being in this book community. So yeah, that was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so thankful for all of you, and I will see you in the next one.